25 years, give or take, in IT before I
Hmm.
switched careers.
Now, Eddie, so you are telling us you switched from IT.
Mhm.
What did you get into that, and what attracted you to that, and not stay in IT?
I think that's where the story begins.
Oh wow!
So, IT is very stressful, as most
Hmm.
of you know. So,
Yes.
I was getting some really serious headaches,
Wow.
and I was getting some real. It was causing health issues, and my doctor was
Mm,
just saying, "You need
mm,
something different. You can't be
mm,
staring at a computer for 18 hours a
mm-hmm.
day and expect to have a healthy mind." I agreed with him, but then this was a job that was paying me this huge amounts of money, and I couldn't see how I could just leave it.
Yes.
But the time came where we got laid off, and I think that was
Mm-hmm.
a blessing. So as
Uh-huh.
a contract, I
Wow.
got laid off, and immediately I thought, well, this is my exit plan.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to do something that was really simple. Believe it or not, I wanted a job at McDonald's.
Wow.
I wanted a job at Home Depot, something
Yeah.
where you ask me a difficult question, and all I have to do is just let me get a manager for you to answer that question.
But Eddie,
You want to know where?
let me
Mhm.
ask you, what specifically was stressful about IT job? Did you have like a stressful job, or was it the company, or what was it?
I think it was what I did. An
Oh,
example of some of the stresses that I went through were I
yes.
worked for a major credit card company. I'm not going to say their name, but I think you know it.
Uh-huh.
Over in Wentzville, and we
Okay.
processed
Mm-hmm.
credit card transactions, and there were deadlines. There were strict
Yes.
performance metrics that they wanted as DBAs to process. Just to give you an
Okay.
example,
Uh-huh.
there are more than 2 million. At the time, there were more than 2 to 5 million swipes of a credit card every single second
Wow. Uh-huh.
worldwide. So you can imagine if you go to the store, to a department
Yes.
store, and you pay for something,
Mm-hmm.
you expect that when you present your credit card, you're not going to be standing there for 2 minutes. You
Yes.
expect that you're going to be there for maybe 10 seconds, and there's 2 million people doing the same thing at the exact same time.
Wow.
So, as a database administrator, my job was to make these processes transactionally efficient to where we could process up to 10 million transactions per second.
Wow.
And to the customer, there was no delay. So things broke almost every single day. Because guess what? The world economy, and especially in the USA, was growing at a very fast rate, and it
Uh-huh.
continues to grow. Things
Yes.
like that, working with customers, so my customers were almost always internal to the company, never direct to the public.
Yes.
But I supported departments that could not fail.
Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing as having a department that cannot fail. If it fails, then the company has a big risk of just going under. So those
Uh-huh.
kind of stresses obviously put immense pressure on me. The need to be 2 3 steps ahead in terms of technology. Every other week, every other month, something was coming up
Yes.
uh, that you needed to learn. You need to understand and be able
Mm-hmm.
to deploy. Otherwise, the competition was going to go ahead of you.
Yes.
So, for young minds, I don't think that's a problem. But as you get older, uh, you definitely get challenged. I'm still very young, by the way, so it's not a big deal. IT is
Mm-hmm.
still my passion, but
Yes.
those are things that I liked. So
Yeah.
I
I'm
go
glad
ahead.
you're being realistic and telling people what the challenges are. You could have these big yes IT jobs, but it can also be very stressful.
Yeah, it is. I was actually happy when I lost that job, or when that because I want somebody told me about trucking, and I decided, well, maybe that sounds like fun,
Yes.
but I wasn't thinking of a big truck. So I thought,
Yes.
well, maybe I'll just try it out. And I saw the box trucks, the small trucks. And then I decided, why don't I just go for a big truck? So I had some money in the bank,
Yes.
and I went to buy a truck and discovered I cannot drive this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot drive an 18 wheeler. So that meant I have to learn how to drive it first before I buy it.
Yes.
So I went to a night school. I went to a night school in Hazelwood, truck driving school, and they taught you how to get a CDL, how to drive a truck. I did that for 3 or 4 weeks. It doesn't really teach you the business aspects. It just teaches you how to move that thing from one place to another without hitting anything.
Wow. So,
That's the
Eddie,
kind of drivers are.
what is the mindset if you're moving from this IT job to being a truck driver? What was did you have like a long term thing that maybe somebody would not necessarily see? Someone would be like, how can he leave an IT job to go and do trucking?
For me, it was wonderful because, for one, the headaches stopped almost immediately.
Okay.
So to me, that was a huge difference. Instead of having a headache or a migraine every day, I don't have a headache. To me, that was worth more than anything that you could ever possibly put in front of the table for me.
Okay.
So for me, it was a health issue. I think for a lot of people, it's the same thing. If you have no pain, I think you're happy.
Yes.
So that was the beginning of just looking at potential, because my mind was always thinking, obviously the pay coming from IT going
Yes.
into truck driving is not a whole lot,
Okay.
right?
Well,
It's a big
if you are
difference.
being
It's a big
employed
difference.
versus if it's yours.
Exactly. If you're employed,
Yes.
it's a huge difference. If you own the truck, then the difference is not that much.
Yes.
But I was going in as a new person who had no experience in that space, and immediately I ran into challenges that I never even thought about that I could have. And that's when I decided, well, at about the same time my family was growing. By the way, I think I skipped a part over there. We got married in 1997. So
Okay.
we've been married 26 years now, right? So
That's
around
amazing.
the time that I was getting into trucking is around the same time that we were starting to have children. And so I
Okay.
wasn't in trucking for a very long time. In fact, the reason I left trucking was because of the kids. I wanted to be home more. And I had no idea whether I was making money or not. Strange to say, but
Yeah.
in trucking, you're getting so much money and you're spending so much money. And if you don't have a good system,
Yes.
then you're lost. And I simply could not figure out. I was not a businessman at that time. I was just running a business, blindfold. People would say there's money. They didn't show me how. So I developed a system to manage my books.
Okay.
And that's where I started learning the accounting. And my dad, by the way, was an accountant when he was alive back then. And so I also had a little bit of interest in math, and I've always been good at math. So I did the math. I started doing some spreadsheets, some rudimentary, software. It didn't work very well. It was kind of buggy. But towards the end, I actually rewrote my program and gave it to some friends and said, hey, this might be for you. I'm not going to be in trucking anymore. If you want it, you can have it.
Okay.
And a few of my friends took it up and they asked me, how much is it? I told them, well, it's free.
Wow.
They were like, no, there's got to be a value on this. And I couldn't see the value. And I said, all right, what do you think it's worth? And I put out a number.
Yes.
I was that bad of a businessman, and I put out a number and say, all right, pay me this much per month, and let's see how it works. And they were like, okay, no problem. There was no pushback, and that number stuck.
Okay.
So when I started seeing success, then it gave me incentive to go back and rewrite the software for commercial purposes. So I did that. It took me a couple of years to do that. And fast forward to today, I have over 3,000 paying customers
Wow.
who use my software every day.
So your IT knowledge didn't
Yep.
go to waste, because if you didn't have the IT knowledge, you wouldn't have been able to create that software that you are able to make some money with.
Absolutely.
So is that
Yes. So
still alive? Is the software still alive? Is it still in use?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
So people can still reach out to you if they need. So you can
Ye-
tell the people in trucking business if they need this software, you can tell them what it does exactly.
Absolutely. So my software is bookkeeping for truck drivers. I specialize in just truck drivers and trucking companies. It
Okay.
is solving a problem that I had when I was back in trucking, that if I knew then what I know now, I would probably be a millionaire several times over.
Wow.
So it needed just three things. It needed to
Yes.
be simple to use,
Mm-hmm.
it needed to be cost effective,
Mm-hmm.
and it needed to be available.
Yes.
So simple to use means that you're not teaching a truck driver how to be an accountant. You're simply, if he can use email, if he can use Facebook or Gmail or something like that, he can use my software.
Yes.
Uh, in terms of affordability, if you look at the industry, the transportation and logistics, most accounting software is written for big companies. These
Mm-hmm.
companies already have an accounts payable, accounts receivable, a full-fledged accounting department. This is not for those people. This is for truck drivers who own just one truck or maybe two trucks.
Okay.
But the software can support as many trucks as you have. So that's
Okay.
the cost. That's the cost factor. And then in terms of availability, it means that
Mm-hmm.
all you need is a smartphone and internet. Back
Mm-hmm.
when I was writing the software in 2014, 2008 is when version 1 launched. Uh,
Yeah.
internet was still very, very spotty. Actually, the internet in my truck used to be faster than the internet in my house.
Wow.
So I actually used to enjoy writing the software while I'm in the truck and I'm stored to park for the night.
Yes.
That was the best time to write it because I had really good internet. So now it's not a problem. Internet,
Okay.
everybody has internet nationwide, hopefully worldwide. That's no longer an issue. So the three things that it needed were accomplished, and that software is available. It's TripSheet Central. I think you have a slide that's going to you're probably going to show it at some point.
Oh yeah, I'll
So
try
that
to show that slide.
so that's
You had
one of the
sent.
businesses that I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sent it to you
Okay.
on Facebook. Yeah.
We'll look it up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's one of the businesses that I did, and then in trucking, there's so many areas that you can work with. It's not just being a truck driver. You can own trucks. You can go into freight brokerage, which is a very popular way of getting into the business without having to buy a truck.
Okay.
So I did open a logistics company. It's still alive. It's called Open Trade Logistics. Uh, and then as a business owner, I don't necessarily have to work in it, but I can get
Mm-hmm.
agents. And so that's what I have. I have agents who work independent agents who I pay
Okay.
60% and I keep 40%.
Wow.
That is an odd business model.
Okay.
Usually the owner gets more and the
Mm-hmm.
agent gets less, but I
Mm-hmm.
pay more, 60%, and I keep 40%. Well, it's macro economies of scale because of the amount of work that they have to do.
Yes.
There is a lot of incentive. So that's an industry standard where you pay them more than you pay yourself, but then you have volume. So
Then you have volume. Mm-hmm.
if I have 20 agents working for me combined, I earn 100 times more than all of them put together.
Wow. Now you are
So it's a
educating
good
us.
business. It is a good business model, and there's other models. You can go 70-30 split, 60-40, but
Mm-hmm.
there are different ways of doing it.
Okay.
Um,
So now you
so
moved
one,
from tracking,
uh
and where did you land? So, and you're doing software on the side, and now you have also
yes.
opened a logistics company. Continue taking us on that journey.
So software development has always been my passion, and so I actually developed a transportation management software program
Uh-huh.
to manage the business. So instead of paying somebody to, uh, probably in hindsight, I would now
Yes.
pay someone to do the job. But because I knew how to do it, I just went
Yes.
ahead and did that. But now,
Okay.
as a business owner, one of the biggest challenges and that I had to go over to overcome was
Mm-hmm.
letting go of all this work.
Okay.
So I was the CEO, I was the developer, I was the salesperson, the marketing guy, the guy who
Yes.
sweeps the office. It was just too much, and I couldn't let go. I had letting go issues. So
Okay.
I actually ran into a mentor who helped me and said, you're doing too much."
Yes.
And I couldn't believe him, but he showed me that if I just let go a little bit of a time at a time, then it would be much better for me. And eventually that happened to where I delegated almost everything. And that was wonderful because, again, I think very prone to stress. That stress just went away.
Okay.
So as a CEO, my job was simply find the right people, do the right thing in the company, let them do it, and then all you have to do is just verify. Was it done? Yes. And here's how you verify it, by looking at the results. So I was
Okay.
able to quit my corporate job and just decide, this is something that can run on autopilot. So that's one of the other businesses that I did.
Okay.
In addition to others, were all transportation and logistics related.
Wow. I'm so amazed at your journey. So Ed, well, so now you're doing logistics, you're CEO, you're business owner again, and you also still have IT background. Were you able to let somebody do your IT side, or do you still manage your
Yeah.
IT side by yourself?
Now I don't even want to look at a line of code.
Wow.
Even though sometimes I do mentor some high school students here in Atlanta, I from a business perspective, it does not make sense for me to sit down and write code for 5, 6, 8, 10 hours a day. No, I won't do that. So
Okay.
what I did is I hired a team over in India and said, "Here's a pot of cash. Go ahead and write." So I outsourced it to India, got
Yes.
it written. Uh, Actually, maybe 40% of some of the code that I use was written outside of the US.
Wow.
But it's more cost effective to just get somebody to do it.
Yes. Yes.
And if you have young people who are learning how to do it and they want the opportunity, those are the people that I'm always looking for and saying, "Here's a project. Here's the blueprint. I'll write the
Yes.
schema for you. It's already set. Go ahead and
Yes.
develop the project, and you get paid very handsomely." So
Wow.
that is more cost effective for me to do.
Let me ask you.
Mm.
When you went to India, did you think maybe you could also get some Kenyans to do this work, or is there no talent in Kenya for
I
someone who
think
can develop software?
I think the talent is there now. Previously, it was not very well known whether there was talent,
Yes.
and also there was communication issues with internet. They did not. Kenya has not. Just in the last few years, I believe, is when the internet speed is now picked up, and it's no longer an issue. But maybe 10 years ago, it was an issue. So much so that I actually did go to Mexico to find developers. There's a program called Hola Code. I don't know whether you're familiar with it. HOLACODE. And they provide, or they help people going back to Mexico with technology jobs and training and so on, and they provide excellent resources. So in Kenya, if you have or you can promote people who are in IT and are learning these new skills, especially generative AI, I have a lot of work that I can provide.
Oh my, I do
Uh,
have so many people, Eddie, reaching out every day. If you have work, if I recognize somebody who can do the work, I can be referring some of them to you.
I think that's important, and they don't need a degree, by the way. I will never
Yeah.
ask for a degree.
Tell them,
All they need
because I
is
have
a
trouble
technical
convincing
information.
people.
Now they can have the degree if they want. That's it's a nice thing to
It's a
cover up the
nice
holes in
thing.
the wall, but that's all
But
it does.
someone will tell you they want this degree, but they don't have money. So in IT, if you don't have the money, yeah. So advise them what they can do
If
instead
you're
of.
in IT and whether you have a degree or not, I think all you need is the knowledge or the ideas and just take the risk to do something, solve a business problem. That's what you need. You need to solve a business problem. You can write games and all that, which is fun, but I
Yes.
think there is more money in terms of if you're solving a business problem. For instance,
Uh-huh.
let me talk about bookkeeping, which is the area that I'm in right now. If you can
Okay.
help small businesses manage their books in a really simple way,
Okay.
just an app that uh, Mama Boga can just open her. Even Mama Boga has a cell phone these days,
Mm-hmm.
so she just needs to open her cell phone and put in her day sales and all that. Start giving her a way to record that information about her business, and
Yes.
then start using AI that she doesn't have to know about
Mm-hmm.
to give her insights into how her business is performing. That's a
Wow.
simple use case for how to
Mm-hmm.
help. Make it so
Okay.
cheap, almost free, that
Yes.
is encouraging, because a lot of times in Kenya we buy things based on how much they cost, not even
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing. So
Yes,
if the product
exactly.
is good and it's almost free, then you
Yes.
have more people doing it. And once they get hooked, then you start adding features after feature and feature and just make it useful, continue to make it useful. So in comparison to my bookkeeping program or my software,
Mm-hmm.
once the truck drivers get into it, first and foremost, the download is free on the App Store,
Yes.
and there's a lot of free features that are actually functional. Some people have never even paid for it because it's that
Okay.
good. But once you start getting into the advanced features, then you need to start paying, and that's
Yes.
where the money is.
Okay.
So I found that those people grow kind of organically and also by word of mouth and by seeing the features and the potential. And once they
Yes.
get into it, they never turn back. So my attrition rate for people who sign up to my program and drop off, that's very small. Most people have been with me for years and years and years and years. And they're managing businesses that are in the millions of dollars. So truck
Wow.
drivers do
Mm-hmm.
make money. They might be underlooked, but a
Yes.
regular truck, a standard truck driver who's not even working too hard is probably taking home $250,000 every year.
Really.
Yes. So
So I
compare
think.
that with an IT job,
Mm-hmm.
truck driver, it's almost the same thing. One works outside, one works in the office.
Yes. So I think I'll have to bring you back so you can advise people on tracking. Because as of now, I'm hearing a lot of truck drivers complaining. I hear the job is very low at the moment. Is that true? Do you know? Are you aware?
I am very, very aware because I'm in that business.
Okay.
I actually do own a trucking company.
Mm-hmm.
The freight is there. The freight will always be there. In fact, it is there now more than ever.
Okay.
However, in order for me to get the freight, I have to take it
Mm-hmm.
away from you,
Okay.
right? So it's
Yes.
just where the money is flowing, and if you are on the correct side,
Uh-huh.
then everything is nice and dandy. Everything is good. So
Okay.
no, it's just business. For me as a CEO, my one of my principal jobs is to lower the cost of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I want to pay you a whole lot more just so that you can feel good?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a philanthropist.
Yes.
So I'm in this for the money, and so are the big companies. They have to control costs, and that's one of the areas, unfortunately, that I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate that they can actually control. So as the costs go down there, they're able to provide the same goods at the same price because costs are going up everywhere. But revenue to truck drivers has obviously reduced a whole lot because it's not like it used to be. So you just have to change your business model a little bit in order to do that, in order to succeed. Um, but that probably takes me. I don't know how much time I have, but it takes me to my next maybe my next uh, part in my journey where
Yes.
now I have all this free time. By the way, COVID was bad, but in a way it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, here's the two sides to the story.
Okay.
In 2020, when we stopped going to the offices and all of that good stuff, all of a sudden you're sitting in the house and you've got all this time on your hands and nothing to do. All my businesses were running online. Actually, most of my businesses have been online, except when I was driving a truck. All my other businesses have been online, where I don't have to actually go out. Case in point, I've only met maybe 4 or 5 out of the thousands of customers that I have in person, in real life. I have no need to interact with them at all. So that is a virtual business, and you